Hey folks, Jason here with another quick music theory tip. In this video, we're going to explore a technique that I sometimes use with my students to avoid predictable chord progressions in a composition. This process involves chromatic harmonization of a trichord. So for those that don't know, a trichord is a post-tonal concept that's been utilized since at least the late 19th century in the European classical music tradition. And I think it's important to note that there are slightly different definitions for a trichord depending on the theorist or composer and the context we're referring to. For the purpose of this video and how I use it when working with composition students as an exercise, we can think of a trichord this way. A trichord is essentially three notes, often within the range of a fourth or a fifth, that avoid the shape of a triad. So these would all be triads like a G major, G minor, G diminished, G augmented. So this is a way to create harmonic options or possibilities that are not locked into triad shapes, though we can have things like triads, seventh chords, extended chords, suspended chords, and all other kinds of harmonies implied by these trichords. So this is an example I used just today in a lesson as a trichord. We're going to take the notes A, C, and D. Right? Now, this implies, as I mentioned before, other types of chords like triads, seventh chords, so on, but this is not, strictly speaking, a triad shape. But we're going to use this trichord and we're going to chromatically harmonize it with a different note in the left hand. So we're going to essentially do a chromatic harmonization. So I'm going to maintain this trichord, but I'm going to harmonize it with an ascending or descending chromatic scale. So we'll go ahead and use an ascending chromatic scale with the bass note of D to start us off. So the implied harmony here is a D minor 7 without a third. If we do the same thing, I'm going to keep chromatically ascending. So this trichord with E flat in the bass, we get an E flat major 13, sharp 11 with no third or fifth. So we've got the E flat as the root, the sharp 11 of the A, the 13 of the C, and the D, which is the major 7. So we're missing the third, right, which would be G, and the fifth, right? But you can clearly hear, even without that third and fifth, that implied full chord. So if we go ahead and keep going up, I would have this. So the trichord with E in the bass, right? This goes ahead and creates either a C6 add 9 with E in the bass. Notice how I don't have the fifth, but that is still implied. Or we could think about it as an A minor add the 11, right? The harmonic ambiguity here opens up a lot of different options if you're composing and improvising and trying to avoid standard chord progressions based in triads. If we continue going up chromatically, next up we have F in the bass with this trichord. That just gives us an F6. Keeping that trichord in the right hand and moving up chromatically to F sharp gives us a D7 over F sharp, and so on and so forth. So now I've got a chord progression where I'm retaining essentially this same trichord shape in the right hand and just moving up chromatically. D minor 7 with no third, E flat major 13, sharp 11, C6 add 9 over E, or you could think about it as A minor add 11 over E, F6, D7 over F sharp, etc., etc. I encourage my students, and I hope you'll do the same, to try different trichords in one hand and to avoid familiar triad shapes while harmonizing in the other hand. I'd love to see what folks come up with. Please feel free to share what you came up with in the comments below, and have a great day. Thanks for tuning in.